Shobo Genjokoan. When all dharmas are Buddha Dharma, there are enlightenment and delusion, practice life and death, Buddhas and creatures. When the 10,000 dharmas are without self, there are no delusions, no enlightenment, no Buddhas, no creatures, no life, and no death. The Buddha's way transcends being and non-being, therefore there are life and death, delusion and enlightenment, creatures and Buddhas. Nevertheless, flowers fall with our attachments and weeds spring up with our aversion. To carry the self forward and realize the 10,000 dharmas is delusion. That the 10,000 dharmas advanced and realize the self is enlightenment. It is Buddhas who enlighten delusion. It is creatures who are deluded in enlightenment. Further, there are those who attain enlightenment above enlightenment. There are those who are deluded within delusion. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, one need not be aware of being Buddha. However, one is the realized Buddha and further advances in realizing Buddha. Seeing forms with the whole body and mind, hearing sound with the whole body and mind, one understands them intimately. Yet it is not like mirror with reflection, nor like water under the moon. When one side is realized, the other side is dark. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by the 10,000 dharmas. To be enlightened by the 10,000 dharmas, to be free one's body and mind and those of others. No trace of enlightenment remains, and this traceless enlightenment is continued forever. When one first seeks the truth, one separates oneself from it. When one has already correctly transmitted the truth to oneself, one is one's original self at that moment. When riding on a boat, if one watches the shore, one may assume that the shore is moving. But watching the boat directly, one knows that it is the boat that moves. If one examines the 10,000 dharmas with the deluded body and mind, one will suppose that one's mind and nature are permanent. But if one practices intimately and returns to the true self, it will be clear that the 10,000 dharmas are without self. Firewood turns into ash and does not turn into firewood again, but do not suppose that the ash is after and the firewood is before. We must realize that firewood is in a state of being firewood and has its before and after, yet having this before and after is independent of them. Ash is the state of being ash and has its before and after. Just as firewood does not become firewood again after it is ash, so after one death, one does not return to life again. Thus, that life does not become death is a confirmed teaching of the Buddha Dharma. For this reason, life is called the non-born. That death did not become life is a confirmed teaching of the Buddha Dharma. Therefore, death is called the non-extinguished. Life is a period of itself. Death is a period of itself. For example, they are like winter and spring. We do not think that winter becomes spring, nor do we say that spring becomes summer. Gaining enlightenment is like the moon reflecting in the water. The moon does not get wet, nor is the water disturbed. Although its light is extensive and great, the moon is reflected even a puddle an inch across. The whole moon and the whole sky are reflecting a dewdrop in the grass and one drop of water. Enlightenment does not disturb the person, just as the moon does not disturb the water. A person does not hinder enlightenment, just as dewdrops does not hinder the moon in the sky. The depth of the drop is the height of the moon. As for the duration of the reflection, you should examine the water's vastness or smallness, and you should discern the brightness or dimness of the heavenly moon. When the truth does not fill our body and mind, we think we have enough. When the truth fills our body and mind, we realize that something is missing. For example, when we view the four directions from a boat on the ocean where no land is in sight, we see only a circle and nothing else. No other aspects are apparent. However, this ocean is neither round nor square, and its qualities are infinite in variety. It is like a palace, it is like a jewel, it just seems circular as far as our eyes can reach at that time. The 10,000 dharmas are like ways like this. Although ordinary life and enlightened life assume many aspects, we only recognize and understand through practice what the penetrating power of our vision can reach. In order to appreciate the 10,000 dharmas, we should know that although they may look round or square, the other qualities of oceans and mountains are infinite in variety. Furthermore, other universes lie in all quarters. It is not so only around ourselves, but also right here and in a single drop of water. When a fish swims in the ocean, there is no limit to the water, no matter how far it swims. When a bird flies in the sky, there is no limit to the air, no matter how far it flies. However, no fish or bird has ever left its element since the beginning. When the need is large, it is used largely. When the need is small, it is used small way. Thus, no creature ever comes short of its own completeness. Whatever it stands, it does not fail to cover the ground. If a bird leaves the air, it will die at once. If a fish leaves the water, it will die at once. Know then that water is life. Know that air is life. Life is the bird and life is the fish. Beyond these, there are further implications and ramifications. In this way, there are practices in enlightenment, mortality, and immortality. Now, if a bird or a fish tries to reach the limit of its elements before moving in it, the bird or the fish will not find its way or its place. Attaining this place, one daily life, is the realization of ultimate reality, Genjokoan. Attaining this way, one daily life, is the realization of ultimate reality, Genjokoan. Since this place and this way are neither large nor small, neither self nor other, neither existing previously nor just arriving now, they therefore exist thus. Thus, if one practices and realizes the Buddha way, when one gains one Dharma, one penetrates one Dharma. When one encounters one action, one practices one action. Since the place is here and the way leads everywhere, the reason the limits of the knowable are unknowable is simply that our knowledge arises with and practices with the absolute perfection of the Buddha Dharma. Do not practice thinking that realization must become the object of one's knowledge and vision and be grasped conceptually. Even though the attainment of realization is immediately manifest, its intimate nature is not necessarily realized. Some may realize it and some may not. Priest Biauchi, Magu Mountain, was fanning himself. A monk approached and asked, "Sir, the nature of the wind is permanent and there's no place it does not reach. Why then must you still fan yourself, although you understand that the nature of wind is permanent?" The master replied, "You do not understand the meaning of its reaching everywhere." "What is the meaning of its reaching everywhere?" asked the monk. The master just fanned himself. The monk bowed with deep respect. This is the enlightened experience of Buddha Dharma and the vital way of its correct transmission. Those who say we should not use a fan because wind is permanent and so we should know the existence of wind without using a fan know neither permanency nor the nature of wind. Because the nature of wind is eternally present, the wind of Buddhism actualizes the gold of the earth and ripens the cheese of the long river. Could I have 2 volunteers for incense lighting who have done it before? Thank you. We're going to chant the incense offering. It's inside of your chant book. Should be a loose page in there. It says incense offering on the top. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Good morning. Nice to see so many people here today. I have a few start of service announcements. We do have a basement through that door there. There's bathrooms down there, and if you have small children and they get restless, you're welcome to take them downstairs. And we also have social hour after the service downstairs. Looks like we have plenty of space today, so I'm not going to make the space announcement. We do also have a restroom up here. If you need to use the restrooms during service, just walk across the back rather than in the front. When we do our chants, we're trying to chant at a medium upbeat tempo. Try and listen to those around you and try and chant loud enough that you can hear your own voice, but not so loud that you can't hear your neighbors, because you're trying to follow along with them so we're all in sync. And if you can chant with a smile, I think that helps it be uplifted. So I ask everyone to please stand and bow or greet to each other as however you feel is appropriate. Silently. And we're going to start our service with the Three Refuges chant, which is on page 7 in the chant book. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the three jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and practice joy and equanimity. I vow to listen and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and that I help living beings free from suffering.
May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts.
So turn the page over to 8. We will chant the Heart Sutra together, beginning with the title, the Mahaprajna Paramita Vidya Sutra.
Mahaprajna Paramita Vidya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceive the emptiness of all five skandhas, and deliver all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith and prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, peerless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Dhamma prajna paramita Vidya Sutra.
Please sit. Good morning again. My name is Kunga Nyima. I am one of the teachers here at the temple. Can you hear me? Am I speaking loud enough for the back row there? Okay. These mics are only for online, so we're still working on a speaker system here. So the title of my talk today is Walking the Buddha's Path. And the idea for this talk came from the Dharma Council. We were thinking about how the best way to introduce the Sangha to the offerings that we're providing over the year as far as classes and trainings. So since our year kind of begins in August, thought this seemed like a good time to go ahead and give you kind of an overview of all the different things classes you can take here at the temple and how they can help you build your practice. So in addition to that, to make it a little bit more interesting, I also want to talk about the idea of a Buddha with 3 bodies. This is an idea that I've talked about before. There's this idea that the Buddha has a physical body, the Buddha has a teaching body, and the Buddha has a wisdom body. Okay. So the physical body of the Buddha is everything that we perceive with our 6 senses. Everything we see, we smell, we taste, we touch, we hear, we feel, we think about. That is all the Buddha's physical body. So that's like everything, right? And so one of the reasons that we can call everything the Buddha's physical body is because it's anything or everything that exists has the potential of waking us up, okay? Just like the Buddha's teachings do. So for example, when you walk into the temple here, the temple is kind of like designed, and all the rituals that we do in our service are all designed around the idea of making that more obvious, okay? So when you walk in, we ask you to take your shoes off, and we ask you to put socks on and bow when you enter, as a way to respecting the space, being more aware of the space. When you come to your cushion, giving a bow to your cushion, which is sort of recognizing the importance of sitting down and meditating, participating in our chants, the morning chant and the chants that come later, the different gathas that we recite, the different images that we have in the temple, the shrine here with the different images of the Buddha and bodhisattvas, in the back wall there with those different images of bodhisattvas. Actually, I heard one commentator said that we could think of the bodhisattvas as all the Buddha's teaching body, because they embody those teachings. So all this around you is meant to make you more aware of this Buddha's physical body, and to like activate the space. So this sort of helps you along the way to becoming more wise in your day-to-day life. But anything in your experience has that potential. We're just kind of trying to make it easier for you when you come to temple service. So one example of that is our refuge vows, that we say at the beginning. Actually, I think I wanted to say was that, you'll learn more about that idea I've been talking about through the Fundamentals of Buddhism class. That's a class coming up October 7th. So that's the first class, the next class that you can take here. And what this class does is really go into a little bit more detail about why the different things that we have at temple service are meant, why they're here, and what the symbolic importance of them, and how they can help you with your practice. So for example, the 3 refuges that we take, refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Fundamentals of Buddhism class will teach you about the life of the Buddha. Okay? If you haven't read about that already, it'll talk about his life and how he encountered 4 sites which encouraged him to leave his home to pursue the spiritual life. These sites were the site of an old person, a sick person, a corpse and then of a monk. In a way, we could say that the Buddha's encountering of his own body in these other sites is what led him to a spiritual journey, which was, led him on the path to awakening as well. It's not that he just saw these sites. That he didn't just empathize with these people like, oh, this person's old, that's they must be suffering, or this person is sick. I can understand their suffering. He realized that he was going to go through those same experiences, and he was interested in how he could handle that suffering, how he could deal with that suffering. Okay. So you'll learn about the Buddha and the fundamentals of Buddhism class. You also learn about the Dharma, and the Dharma are the teachings. The Dharma is really the second body of the Buddha. The teaching body of the Buddha is the Dharma. So one of the main teachings that you'll learn about in the fundamentals of Buddhism class are the Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, the truth of the cessation of suffering, and the path to lead out of suffering. I'm missing one in there. Cause of suffering, right? Thank you. So just a little bit on that. So suffering is part of our life. I mean, that's the truth of suffering. You can't get around it. Suffering is just part of being a human being. It's not like something that we can avoid, right? Every day we experience suffering. If you ever get hungry and you want to eat, that's like your body giving you a little bit of suffering, telling you need to eat. If you're sitting on the meditation cushion and your legs get uncomfortable, that little bit of suffering is telling you that you need to move or readjust because your body's not used to that. So we always have these kind of little sufferings. We have psychological sufferings. We fall in love with people. We become attached to our parents. And when those people that we love become sick or pass on, that we experience suffering because of that, and that's okay. We're not trying to get rid of all those sufferings. We're really trying to learn about suffering and then learn how to better deal with it in our everyday life. The third thing we take refuge in is the Sangha. So this community here. So in the fundamentals of Buddhism class, you'll kind of learn about how the Buddha formed his own Sangha. He started with people he had practiced with previously, and then over time, the Sangha grew. And the Sangha is really important for us because it helps us give an opportunity to practice with other people who share the same thoughts and feelings about life. It's just, inspirational to practice with others. And it can also be a challenge as well, but those are all the good things about being with the Sangha. Another class that we offer here, we just actually offered it last month, Introduction to Meditation. Introduction to Meditation is really introducing you to the third body of the Buddha, the wisdom body, which is the path to realize the wisdom body is sort of sped up or encouraged through meditation. I mean, certainly the idea is that you're going to realize that wisdom body every moment of your life, not just when you're meditating. But I think meditation is kind of like gives you a empty basketball court to practice on, right? Like, when kids go to practice basketball, sometimes you just need to go to an empty court and practice your dribbling and practice your shooting without a lot of distractions until it becomes kind of automatic. And then when you're in the game situation, you can actually use those strengths. And so with meditation, we set up like this ideal environment. The Buddha said, like, go to a quiet place in the woods, under a root of a tree, or to an empty hut to practice. So when we do our meditation time here, we keep it quiet. We turn down the lights. We sort of try and make it ideal. And when you practice at home, the same thing. You kind of try and find a place where you're free of distractions and where you can be wide awake. But the idea is that you're going to practice that so that it becomes automatic. And then when you go out in real life, and when you're driving or at work or in some kind of challenging situation, those skills will be kind of automatic and will help you deal with the situation a little bit more skillfully. So that class helps you to kind of get an idea. In the fundamentals of meditation class, you learn about the Buddha's life, and part of that is his years of study with different teachers in the forest of India. and his accumulation of his enlightenment after a long period of meditation. So you're learning about what the Buddha is doing with meditation. When he's sitting here in this posture here, what is going through his head or what is not going through his head, and how do you do that? Okay, so that's a really important class. We recommend that class before you take any of the other, like the precept training or the bodhisattva training. We recommend that you take the beginning meditation class first. Another way to think about how these three bodies of the Buddha fit together is to think about like a furniture maker. So if you're a furniture maker and you're going to make a cabinet, you have to start out with selecting your tools and selecting your materials, right? You have to figure out, is this going to be hammered together? Is this going to be screwed together? Is it going to be glued together? Am I going to use like those little special joints to put it together? What kind of wood am I going to use? You have to make a lot of decisions. And the same with Buddhist practice, right? We have to look around our environment and select parts of the Buddha's physical body to help us in our practice. So we're going to be thinking about, where am I going to sit for my meditation? What books should I read that would help me understand Buddhism? Where can I attend services at? That kind of thing. So that's like gathering up the initial materials you need. And then the furniture maker, once he or she has those materials, they're going to follow some type of plan, right, to put the thing together. Like they probably studied, or they have books, and they're going to follow this specific menu in order to build the cabinet. There's certain rules that they have to follow, right? They can't just use the hammer on the screws. They can't use wood that's warped or been damaged. They have to follow these certain things. Otherwise, when they come up with a piece of furniture, it's not going to look very nice and may not be very functional. So in our Buddhist practice, it's the same way. Even though we've got we've got all our Buddhist books, and I bought my zafu, and I bought my cushions, and I got my altar set up. If we go down and sit to meditate, and we just start daydreaming or, thinking about how you're going to get ahead at work or all the nice things you're going to buy to make yourself really happy, all these ideas that don't really fit in with the Buddhist teachings, then the meditation is not really going to be very effective for you. You could basically end up making yourself less skillful than you started with. So you need to follow the Buddhist teachings body. You need to bring that in order to develop the meditation practice or develop your wisdom. And so we try and do that in our different classes. On the Fundamentals of Buddhism class, we don't provide a specific text, but with the preceptor class, we do the Dharma Pada. And this year, we're also doing the Thich Nhat Hanh's The Heart of Buddhist Teachings. So if you're looking for things, to read to help you out, those are a couple of items that we use. In the Bodhisattva class, we use the Way of the Bodhisattva. We do a translation by Pema Chodron, which is very helpful. So I would recommend those to you. So once you've completed the Fundamentals of Buddhism class and the Introduction to Meditation class, the next class or training that we offer is the Preceptor training. Okay? This is a 4-month commitment. Okay, so it's a pretty big commitment. And you're not just committing to coming to the class that meets twice a month, but you're committing to coming to temple every Sunday at 8:30 to help us clean and set up. And then we'll also have like a little mini lecture, I think, between 9 and 9:30 about different things that we do at the temple, about, the etiquette for the temple, meditation, just a variety of subjects. The preceptor class is called that because you're basically taking the 5 precepts. Do not harm living beings. Do not steal. Do not engage in sexual misconduct. Do not lie, and do not abuse intoxicants. Okay, so when you take that class, you're looking at your life and you're thinking about those precepts, and as they relate to your life, you'll be journaling, you'll be reading the Dhammapada and doing some writing assignments. And the whole idea is to bring these teachings into your everyday life. Like, coming to Sunday services is great, but the more you can bring the teachings into your day on an everyday level is going to be more and more helpful. The last training that we provide after the preceptor training, so preceptor training is like September through December. December is the ordination for the preceptors. And also a neat thing about the preceptor training is you get a Dharma name, like a Buddhist name, which is supposed to like inspire you in your practice. Okay. So the next class that starts in January and then goes for 8 months, we actually just had the ordination last month or last week, right? Yeah. Is the Bodhisattva class. And so at the end of the service, we take the Bodhisattva vows. Okay. All beings one body, I vow to liberate. Endless abiding passions, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. So those are really strong, important vows. One thing to remember is that, this idea that we have that there's I'm here and you're there is really just an accident of our perspectives. Really, we're all connected. We're all one body. But the way our sense organs work, I see you out there and then I think I'm here. It's hard for us to see all those interconnections that we have in our everyday life. But we're all, certainly breathing the same oxygen. We all couldn't exist if we didn't live on the same earth together. We're all born, we're all going to pass away. So it might be more challenging to see how the Buddha's body exists outside the temple service. But I want to encourage you to remember that it's out there. If you're in traffic, if you're in the bathroom, if you're putting out the trash, if you're at work, if you're suffering from some type of personal heartbreak, the Buddha's body is always there to support you. Just try and remember that. So I wanted to end my talk today with a quote from the Flower Ornament Sutra. This is the Avatamsaka Sutra. It's one of the sutras that one of the core sutras of the temple. Okay, it's a 1,500-page sutra, so it's really, really detailed and very poetic. It's just really pretty amazing. There's 39 books. I'm going to read from book 37, which is called The Manifestations of Buddha. I didn't count them all. There's many different manifestations of Buddha included in that book 37. I'm just going to read the first 3. And I thought it was kind of interesting. They seem to kind of fit like with the idea of the Buddha's physical body, the Buddha's teachings body, and the Buddha's wisdom body. Book 39 is probably the most important or most famous part of the sutra because it gives a story of how a pilgrim meets 53 different teachers on his way to become a bodhisattva. Okay, so it's if you wanted to check it out online, you're like, 1,500 pages, that's crazy. Just try book 39, and that'll give you a sense of what many people consider as like the core of the sutra. Somebody said that the first 38 chapters were just like the philosophy of how to become a bodhisattva, and then chapter 39 is like you can see how someone does it, like how they walk through the process. Though it's not like any kind of manual on how to do anything that I've ever seen. Not that straightforward. So this is Manifestations of the Buddha. How should great enlightening beings see the body of Buddha? They should see the body of Buddha in infinite places. Why? They should not see Buddha in just one thing, one phenomenon, one body, one land, one being. They should see Buddha everywhere. Just as space is omnipresent in all places, material or immaterial, yet without either arriving or not arriving there, because space is incorporeal. In the same way, Buddha is omnipresent in all places, in all beings, in all things, in all lands, yet neither arriving nor not arriving there, because Buddha's body is incorporeal, manifesting a body for the sake of sentient beings. This is the first characteristic of the body of the Buddha. Great enlightening beings should see it thus. Furthermore, just as space is wide open, is not a form, yet can reveal all forms, yet space is without discrimination or false description, so also is the body of Buddha like this, causing all beings, mundane and transmundane, good works to be accomplished by illuminating all with the light of knowledge, yet without discrimination or false description, having originally terminated all attachments and false descriptions. This is the second characteristic of the body of the Buddha. Great enlightening beings should see it this way. When the sun comes out, infinite beings all receive its benefits. It disperses the darkness and gives light, dries up moisture, causes plants and trees to grow, matures crops, permeates the sky, causes lotuses to bloom, allows travelers to see the road, allows people to do their work. Because the orb of the sun radiates infinite beams of light everywhere. The sun knowledge of Buddha is also like this, benefiting sentient beings everywhere by infinite works, destroying evil and producing good, breaking down ignorance and creating knowledge, benevolently saving, compassionately liberating, causing growth of faculties, powers, and elements of enlightenment, causing beings to develop a profound faith, enabling them to see inevitable cause and effect, fostering them the celestial eye, to see where beings die and are born, causing their mind to be unimpeded and not destroy roots of goodness, causing them to cultivate illumination of knowledge and open the flower of awakening, causing them to fulfill their fundamental task. Why? Because Buddha's immense sun body of knowledge and wisdom radiates infinite light, illuminating everywhere. This is the third characteristic of the body of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should see it thus. Please prepare yourself for meditation. So I'll give you a little bit of instruction in case you're new to this. So try and sit comfortably on your cushion. If you feel like you're uncomfortable for sitting on a cushion so long, feel free to take a chair. Place your legs crossed in front of you. Some people are squatting on the cushions. You can do that as well. That can be a comfortable position. Try and sit up straight, shoulders back, tuck your chin in. Relax your hands in your lap, left hand down, right hand inside, thumbs touching. You can keep your eyes open or closed. If you keep them open, just direct them down, maybe 6 feet in front of you, a soft gaze. And then for your mind, just be aware of the breath as it comes in through your nose or through your mouth, wherever feels right, wherever you can feel without really controlling it. And then be aware of that exhale. And a good way to keep yourself focused and concentrated is to count those breaths. So counting in and counting out, and then saying internally to yourself silently, number 5, in and out, 4, all the way down to 1, then start back to 5 again. I will sound the bell 3 times to start us, and then I'll sound it 3 times at the end. All right, at this point in our service, we have joys and concerns. So the idea behind this part is that the joys and concerns enables us to practice the four measurables. So the four measurables are teaching loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Loving kindness is wishing others happiness. Compassion is wishing that others have their suffering reduced. Sympathetic joy is just sharing in the happiness of others. And then equanimity is just this idea that, highs and lows of life are going to come across our path, and we don't have to be thrown around by them. We can sort of have just accept that this is going to be how life is. Doesn't mean we don't do anything, but we don't have to be overwhelmed by the sadness or by the happiness that we encounter in life. So just an opportunity, for us as a Sangha to share, what's going on in our life that's joyful, what's going on in our life that's a concern, so that the rest of the Sangha can just share in that with you and provide you with silent support. If you wish to share joy or concern, just signal. And then when you're done, bow. And there'll be a mic. Please speak loudly, even though you have a mic, because the mic is only for Zoom and YouTube. It's not for in here. So unless you speak loudly, we won't hear you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Maggie Sue. I want to share a concern that many of us are aware of. There is the destruction that has happened from the Maui fires, as well as the hurricane that is currently hitting the West Coast. Keep those folks in your thoughts. I have some family in Southern California. That's where I was born. And as they prepare to see and experience the effects of what is going on with our catastrophic global warming. So keep them in your thoughts, and anything you can do to support those who have family, have friends, relations that just need an ear to listen, a shoulder to lean on as they experience their grievances. Good morning. I'd like to express a joy. I feel profound gratitude for the space and for the Sangha. Thank you. And this morning, it feels a little bit punctuated by those beautiful sunflowers that were at the altar. So thank you for that as well.
I would just like to share a joy as well. Next couple weeks, I start school. I'm getting into the dental hygiene program, so just kind of some new beginnings that I'm looking forward to, and I'm excited to start. So yeah.
Just to follow up on a quick note about the sunflowers, they're from a farm called Deep Roots Produce, which is in Caledonia. And I had heard somewhere someone compared the face of a Buddha to a sunflower because the sunflower is always facing the light.
Thanks. This is my first time ever here, but I just want to share my husband has always been a really talented teacher, and he just got a job as an administrator. And so just hopefully we can think of him as he impacts the lives of so many kids and uses his talents to support them. Thank you.
I have a mic here, so I'll go ahead and share a joy and a concern. My concern is that we're planning my mother-in-law's funeral, and even though you think that at this point when everybody's grieving, we could be really supportive of each other, there's not that. So that's really tough. And then my joy is that my daughter Maymay, who is 17, is going to college on Tuesday, and we're gonna take her to Michigan State and move her in. And her sister Audrey also went to Michigan State, so she's not in the same room, but she's in the same hall and everything. So it's pretty exciting. So thank you.
I have one today. So tomorrow I'm leaving for a 10-day road trip to visit my father and his wife in Tennessee. They're elderly and in declining health. And so my first stop is to go to Vermont to pick up my brother, who's living in a group home and can't travel independently. So I'm heading to Vermont, then driving to Tennessee. We'll spend some time there. And this seems likely that this is the last time they're going to see each other. So as part of my daily practice, I recite the 5 remembrances, because for me, bone deep acceptance of the remembrances is a way of letting go of the fear that they bring and becoming free. I am subject to aging. There is no way to avoid aging. I am subject to ill health. There's no way to avoid illness. I will die. There's no way to avoid death. Everyone and everything I love will change, and I will be separated from them. And my only true possessions are my actions, and there's no way to avoid their consequences.
The first one is just a joy and a concern that new classes are starting on Monday for some Sangha members. I can relate. The second is that this Sangha member's son overcame a bit of anxiety and was able to go on a zip line. So.
Right. Is that all the joys and concerns that we have? We'll take a moment to sit with that in our heart. I was just thinking that there is a practice that's very helpful with that. At when we just heard some suffering, and it's a Tonglen practice. You kind of breathing it. When you breathe in, you just kind of breathe in all the suffering in the world. Just kind of you can imagine that as like black heavy clouds, and just kind of breathe it into your heart, and then you let your heart transform that. And then you just breathe it out, and you can just breathe it out through your whole body, like happiness and end of suffering to everyone else. So that's a good practice to deal with when we hear a lot of suffering, and we want to do something to help those people, but maybe maybe it's something on the news, or maybe there's not a way for us to physically do it, but it's kind of emotionally and psychologically put us in a place of caring for those people, you can do it through that practice. So temple-related announcements.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Ellen. I'm here to do the Dana announcement. We usually start with the finance part, but I'm going to mix it up a little bit this morning and talk about Dana is our practice of generosity. And one of the ways you can certainly donate to the temple is with your time. First of all, you're all here, so thank you very much for that. And secondly, the tech team always needs help. We set up and tear down for festivities in the basement. We can always use a dishwasher. There are also other ways of donating to the temple with goods like toilet paper, paper towels, tea bags, soap for the dishes. And lastly is the financial part. This temple depends solely on financial donations from outside the temple. No one here, in whatever capacity they're working in, is getting paid for anything. So your money is definitely appreciated. We have Dana boxes on both ends of the temple. They take a cash or check. There's also a QR code on each box that will take you right to PayPal. You can set up PayPal as a one-time donation, or also you can set it up as a monthly donation. If you go to the temple's website, zengr.org, you'll see a donate button there that will also take you to PayPal. And lastly, if you're watching on YouTube or Zoom this morning, there's a more button with a drop-down menu that will also take you to donate. So anything you can do is greatly appreciated here. Thank you.
So the announcements for August. There is a Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple Board meeting today. Actually, I don't know if it's today. I think actually maybe it was postponed, but it's usually on the third Sunday of the month. To be a board member, you just have to have taken the precepts, and then you can observe board meetings, and there's a process where you can apply for a membership of the board. We're always looking for people who are interested in helping us out. That's kind of like the day-to-day, like, how do we pay the bills? What bills do we need to pay? How do we keep the temple functioning as an entity? How do we do the taxes? Stuff like that. So if you have business experience, that's a good way to benefit us. Buddhist-based recovery meetings are Mondays at the temple or joined via Zoom. Wednesday at Alano Club, 1020 College Avenue. Fridays at Garfield Park or joined via Zoom. We also have an online meditation group on Wednesdays from 7:30 to 8:15. Just join via Zoom. There's a link on the newsletter. We are working with Fuken Zazenji, just sitting meditation, kind of a Zen practice this month. So if you're interested in the group, just email me and I'll email you some links that'll help you better understand what we're doing. But it's an open meditation group. So even though we might be talking about a certain type of meditation, you're always welcome to just sit with us for 20 minutes, and, meditate whatever your practice is. And then we have open discussion afterwards and questions and answers, that kind of thing. The Power of a Question, Less Suffering and More Joy is being offered here as a class Sunday, August 20th. So coming up, well, actually, what's today? That's today, right? So that's 2:30 to 4:30 today. Susan McFarlane is heading that. She's one of our Sangha members. The 5 Buddhist preceptor trainings begins in September. It will meet at the temple. Like I said, it meets at the temple every morning from 8:30 until end of service. And then twice a month, they have a separate meeting after the service where we kind of review journals and different assignments we may have been working on. And then lastly, Fundamentals of Buddhism class is Saturday, October 7th from 9 to 12. And that also meets at the temple. You can register for that online. And registration ends on September 30th for that one and September 1st for the preceptor training. Just a few courtesy announcements here at the end. After we finish our clothing gathas and we bow to each other, please make sure your cushions are arranged neatly with the zafu, the little small one in the center of the larger one, equal space around them. Please place the chants back in the front page of your book, the incense offering and the chant of the month, and then hand those. Someone will be going around collecting books. Just hand them those books. And then we do have a tea time after service, so please join us if you'd like for some social time. I invite everyone to stand up and we'll do our closing gathas. This is on page 9 in your chant book. For all the skillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my meaningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born in body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the road of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And invite the right side to face this way and left side to face that way, and we'll bow to each other. Thank you so much. Thank you.